Hey, what's up? Just have got in. Let's before we even get going good, let's see if the if it's working down here. Is it working? All right. So I am back. Just getting in, really. So let me know down here what you guys want to talk about. So the race itself was crazy. The racetrack itself is awesome. I got this hat down here. That's the only purchase I made. I spent enough money on everything else that I limited myself to what I bought. But they had tons of stuff. Like it was a really cool deal down there and everything. What's up, Mark? Bumblebee, what's going on? Yeah, just a really cool experience. That was the first time I'd ever been to Phoenix. I met a lot of like really cool people down there in Maricopa County. Um, the track itself is amazing. I talked to everybody down there, and we'll get to the poor racing in a minute, Mark Barnum. But the track itself is probably the nicest track in NASCAR that I have been to. I don't think there's a nicer track out there as far as a fan experience goes. So if you ever get a chance to go out to Phoenix, definitely go out to Phoenix and watch the race. And make sure you get a infield pass when you do it too, so you can check it out from the infield and all that good stuff as well. But So let's get to the racing because that is what was brought up. But yeah, so the racing itself was not necessarily great. I thought the Xfinity race was really good. I was watching it live, and there was plenty of passing throughout. I guess some people on TV didn't think it was a great race, but I thought the Xfinity race was really good because there was a lot of pass and there was a lot of action in that race going on. Uh, but the Cup race was not as great. So because there was no passing, and I don't think it's necessarily a product of the track. That's why I brought up the Xfinity race. I think basically what you saw is the package for under 1.5 miles with this car is awful, absolutely awful. So I think before we start bailing, and I saw a lot of people say, "Hey, we need to switch to Homestead for the finale. Homestead needs to be the finale again." Yada yada yada. And with this current package, I wouldn't necessarily agree with you, but I'm not blaming the track for that. I think the blame needs to be placed in the right spot. And I think the blame needs to be placed on the package. They need to come up, and NASCAR has said in their state of the NASCAR thing, which I haven't had a chance to go through and go over yet. But the state of NASCAR, they said they're going to work on a package for tracks under 1.5 miles. And I think that's where the focus and emphasis needs to be. They need to put an emphasis on the package, not necessarily the track, because I think the track has plenty of raceability built into it, but the package itself is not great. So that definitely the package on the car needs to be worked on, not necessarily the track. Before we totally bail on Phoenix as the finale. But I'll go ahead and tell you the way Phoenix is set up, I don't see the finale leaving Phoenix anytime soon. Without a doubt, that's the best place to watch a race. It's almost perfect. Like anywhere you stay downtown, the track is really near. They did a really good job with traffic in and out, and all that good stuff. And the venue itself is just the best venue to watch a race. So I don't see Phoenix getting moved for any other track anytime soon, unless they really, really, really spend some money on a track and revamp it. And also these other tracks getting built, like North Wilkesboro is fixing to get an update. They need to go look at a lot of the stuff that's going on in Phoenix and institute that in Wilkesboro. Now keep Wilkesboro with that classic old style look to it, but some of the amenities they need to look at and add to North Wilkesboro as well. Let's see. Mark Barnum said, good track before racing. That's what I was just talking about. Molten Rage, what's going on, buddy? He said, look, who was right? Look who predicted the NASCAR champion. Nobody took me seriously when I chose Joey Logano, and now look who won the championship. Also, had to give myself a big pat on the back because I like when I was looking at the numbers, I was like, I don't really see, like, by the numbers, I don't really see anybody beating Joey Logano for the championship. There was an outside chance Kevin Harvick might have, as far as the numbers before the race started, outside chance Kevin Harvick might have beat him for the race win. But at the end of the day, the numbers showed Joey Logano was probably going to win that race and that championship by a long shot. And without a doubt, that's what he did. Sentimental favorite was Kyle Busch, of course, going out with the pre-race at least. Going out with Eminem's 18 one last time, and I did wear Eminem's 18 hat there because that's definitely the ending of an era. That 18 Eminem's, just Eminem's leaving the sport, but then 18 Eminem's, we'll never see that again. as far as we know. At least with Kyle Busch in it, we'll probably never see it again ever. So that was ending of an era there. The truck race was awesome, says Bumblebee. Yeah, so the truck race was really good. They put on a good race without a doubt, and all four of the championship contenders were mixing it up for the whole race in that one. So I think the racing at the track is definitely good. They just need a different package for the Cup Series. The Cup Series package for tracks under 1.5 miles is awful. So that's it. TJ Moorshed, how are we today? I felt better, but I've also felt worse. I had a quick a 6-hour nap, just a little nap, which is all the sleep I've had in like basically 2 days. So don't worry, I will go probably right back to sleep after this one. Arizona moved the start finish. This is a good point. Mark Barnum is bringing up, and a lot of people from Phoenix pointed this out to me as well. But Arizona moved the start finish and grandstands a couple of years ago, says Mark Barnum. And see, they took the dog leg out of it. I think they should put the dog leg back in it. They should put the start finish line after the dog leg, and I think that would actually create better finishes and things like that. So I would like to see that as part of it, like well after it, like you pass the dog leg. That would make for some more exciting racing and some better finishes as well, I think. Sammy D's Customs, what's up? What's up, Sam Deloach? Loving the Dale Senior hat and shirt. Very cool for Eric to do a cameo. So yeah, let me talk about that. So I just happened to see him. I was trying to figure out how to I was holding my phone and I couldn't. There's no good way to hold your phone. And I just happened to see Eric, Eric just happened to be filming his deal. So I walked up and he was talking. I was like, man, I really hate to bust up in on this. But I did want to go tell him I appreciate what he did because he gave back to the community, but I had no way of doing a finger point. So he was very kind. He's a super nice guy. He was kind enough to do the finger point for me. So that's the story behind the finger point on that one. But I did see him. I walked up to him. He didn't recognize me. I had to tell him who it was. But after that, he was like, oh yeah. Because my beard's much longer than the last time he probably saw me. But it was just really cool for him. What I was telling him is he's been very successful on YouTube, and instead of just taking and pocketing that money, he put it back into a race car. He's given back to the racing community, and not only that, but he gave all of the people that wanted to support that car a chance to get on the deck lid. So I thought that was a really cool deal. Hopefully, they talked about it pre-race in the Xfinity Series or something like that. But hopefully that got some coverage. Let me know down below. Did they cover that at all for the Xfinity pre-race or talk about it at all in Cup? Because that was just a really cool deal. I think that's the first time. Now there have been some YouTubers that have inherited money and sponsored a race car, but I think this is the first time that a YouTuber that is specifically geared toward NASCAR has taken his own money and sponsored, or his team has taken their own money and sponsored a race car. So that was just really cool for him to give back, and then to allow the fans of his channel and stuff like that to give back as well. And then just still a humble and super nice guy. He did the finger point, and it was just one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. So that was really cool. So that was the deal behind that one. I feel like it was a build-up with a lackluster ending, says one wise guy. Yeah, and that's a good point that I want to bring up. So the whole point of the playoff system is to create drama and excitement. They don't want races with no stakes. Well, if you looked at the numbers, you knew basically, like I told everybody in the pre-race, the show that I did, if you looked at the numbers, there was no way Joey Logano was most likely going to lose this race. And the ratings for it were slightly down from last year. So you do all this to create false drama and false excitement, and then you still get sort of a dud of a finale. So once again, that's another flaw with the current playoff system. The current playoff system needs to be tweaked. Best case scenario, they get rid of it altogether. That's never going to happen, but I have to keep saying it. And also, you basically under an older point system, the Winston Cup point system, Chase Elliott would have been the champion already anyway. So this would have been a coronation more than an actual race. So there's all kinds of ways of looking at it. There's all different perspectives of it. But yeah, they build it up this big playoff finale every single year, and then you get a race like this where Joey Logano was never challenged. Some people tried some off strategy stuff, but it just nobody ever challenged Joey Logano for the win. So you got what you got in the finale. Mark Barnum said Briscoe had a good race too. Now, so that's one thing we can talk about. Ryan Blaney or Chase Briscoe, if they had somehow pulled off what Ross Chastain did, right, through the Hail Mary and got into this, they could have made it interesting. So if Briscoe, so maybe maybe going forward, instead of having a final four, we just have a final eight, right? That would have made it more interesting, because then you've got 8 people that can throw that Hail Mary. Because I think Chase Briscoe and definitely Ryan Blaney could have given Joey Logano a run for his money. What if Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano were racing for the championship? Maybe that is a tweak we can make to the playoffs. Instead of a final 4, you got a final 8. So that last cutoff, no need for that last cutoff. Like, maybe that's something we can look at in the future. Let's see. TJ Moorshed said, thanks for having a show. Only TV for the night. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. So, yeah, I rushed back. I got back here as fast as possible because I wanted to do a proper live stream. Just using some I was going to stay at like a nice hotel on the way back so that I had like good Wi-Fi in the room and just do it for the room. But I was like, you know what? I don't want to risk it again because the Wi-Fi situation all week was sketchy, and I just didn't want to risk it. So I was like, you know what? I'll just drive like all the way through. I'll do what I have to do to get back here to make sure I can do a proper live stream for you guys, because I've been on the road the last 2 weeks. So the live stream, you guys have sort of been gypped on the live stream. So at least that's how I felt. So I was like, I'm going to do a proper live stream today. We're going to get it going again. And so here I am. I drove all the way through, and I appreciate y'all, and that's why I did it. Chris R says, man, I think Larson is going to come back with a vengeance next year. I think we will have that chip on his shoulder, and we will see that. I hope so. I hope so, too. Because the last half of this season, he's looked a lot better than the first half of the season. The first half of the season, he just wasn't the Kyle Larson we were used to. And I'm not talking about just the previous season. You're not going to have that many 10-win seasons in your career. Most people will never have one 10-win season, so I'm not comparing him to that. But we didn't see the Kyle Larson that was out there going for wins, trying to lead as many laps as possible. You just didn't see that Kyle Larson. You saw, in my opinion, more of a conservative Kyle Larson, and that is a boring Kyle Larson to watch. So I think that fire will be back in his stomach for this year. And then just, I mean, you never know. Him and Clint Daniels could have just been off this season, so you never know. Bones 2 says, hey, Bloneberger, great trip. Sorry, I'm a little loopy. Time change and the driving. Hey, Mr. Berger, great trip you had. I bet I seen that the track in the earlier days, 82, when it was a paved oval. So yeah, it has been reconfigured as well. Was at the Western World for sprint cars, and we drove down to see it. Says Bones 2. Yeah, so it even the people I talked to there, they were like, it used to be totally different. So everything about Phoenix has basically been reconfigured, and I think it's a great track. I think it can put on a great show. Like, look at the truck race and the Xfinity race. Those were both very good shows, especially the truck race. Those were both great shows. So there is a really good chance that this track can put on good racing. NASCAR just needs to figure out the package for under 1.5. And the first thing you've got to do for the under 1.5s is take the body work from underneath the car and just chunk it, throw it in the trash. It's terrible. They got to get rid of it. But other than that, like, NASCAR needs to figure it out for sure. Add horsepower for that, like, for darn sure. Old home guy says, good evening, BB, future Yugo racing legend. That's right. If we get the 10K, we will have a Yugo project. If not, some type of Fiat replacement, or an equally crappy car, either a Kia or a Hyundai, some type of hatchback if we can't find a Yugo. But don't worry, whatever we do, we're going to put Yugo badges on it and make it a Yugo project at the very least. But I'm leaning toward, if I can't find a proper Yugo, we'll do maybe a Fiat. It's just got to be a really, really cheap car, because I'm not going to dump a ton of money into it. And we'll make like a Lemons racer car out of it or something like that. We'll figure it out. Maybe a drag racing car, maybe a rally car. Like, we'll figure something out. I'm leaning toward Lemons, but also we could do a rally cross car or something like that, or both. You could do both of those. In that situation, that car would work for both of those, and it could be the same thing. Wouldn't have to do much to it at all. Mark Barnum said, never heard a word during the broadcast. Very little coverage of E-Step that I saw, said Bumblebee. So, yeah, that stinks. So, you know what? I will make an episode on it because it needs some coverage because what he did was a great thing. The takeoff salutations from the Great White North. What's up, Canada? I actually saw some Canadians there, Robin Marks. There were some Canadians in Phoenix. Love your channel all year long. NASCAR has been dramatic and overwhelming this year. Let's talk turtles. I like turtles. Maybe we will talk turtles. Turtles might be what they need to put in the upper groove at Martinsville instead of making a rule to get rid of the riding the wall Ross Chastain watermelon play. I like the watermelon crawl or the watermelon slide better. The watermelon slide I like better, but they're calling it the hail melon or whatever. So it is what it is. One wise guy didn't see any coverage on it either. I watched the video several times in slow motion. Ross Chastain had to do his signature move one more time on the way out of 2022 on the 9 car. Says free to pay. To me, from my perspective, and I still haven't, like I said, I just woke up from basically a quick 6-hour nap. I have not had a chance to look at it again, but where I was sitting on the infield, it looked like Chase Elliott came down. Now, obviously, I didn't have the best angle on it, but to me, it looked like Chase Elliott came down and chopped him. But I'll have to watch the replay of it. But at the end of the day, I don't think no matter what actually happened, it's going to change anybody's real opinion on it. If you pull for Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain wrecked him. If you pull for Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott chopped him. And if you're in between, you probably really don't care. You're just like, it sucks that Chase Elliott is wrecked out. Or wasn't wrecked out, but hurt his chances to win for sure. Bumblebee says, I'm legit mad at NASCAR for not capitalizing on the momentum of Ross Chastain. They could have built a lot out of that and didn't do anything with it. I agree. They let social media do all the work. And then at the end of the day, nobody really cared at the end of it. So that stinks. Elliott wrecked himself with a late block, says Mark Barnum. Like that's from the angle I had, that's what it looked like. It looked like just like an absolute chop. He came down late. Ross Chastain was down and was still trying to move down. And then like he couldn't move much further down than where he was at. That's how I saw it. Like I said, I'll have to watch it on TV because that'll probably be a better angle than I had. And you've got replays, so you can see it in slow motion. But that's how I saw it live. John Crane. I'm sorry, I'm molten rage here. Rest in peace, Coy Gibbs. I did want to touch on that. May he rest in peace in heaven. So that was as far as tragic goes, and John Crane as well. The tragic Coy Gibbs news released 15 minutes before the green flag totally humbled me, and I lost focus on the race. That is a good point as well. So let's talk about that first. So if you were down there, I was down there on the infield, and there was basically there was a rumor at first, and then I walked down to the garage area, and you saw Daniel Hemrick being fitted in the car, at which I could have tweeted out, hey, Daniel Hemrick's going to be the backup driver. I didn't feel like it was the right situation to do that. So I didn't tweet that out. But it just put like a different vibe on the whole event. Like you went from this big, like super excited thing to like, man, this young kid just went from the highest of highs, winning a championship, and to where his whole family just lost, where Joe Gibbs lost another son. He lost his dad, and the family lost, one of the members of the family that is just super important to it. Joe Gibbs Racing lost one of its leaders, without a doubt. So it affected a lot of people. Not only that, but Coy Gibbs was well respected in the garage. He was a guy that a lot of people liked and talked to. We're friends with. So the whole garage, the whole vibe in it was just very muted. And even though it was a rumor at the time, just looking at the faces on the 2311 guys that were working on that car, you could tell something really terrible had happened before the actual news of what had happened came out. So it definitely put a somber vibe to the whole deal. So yeah, that was terrible. There's nothing else you can say. It's a tragedy. It was tragic, and like it just stinks, to be totally honest. Especially with the suddenness of it, because you had just seen maybe 12, 13, 14 hours ago, he was smiling, taking pictures with his son, who was a champion. And then, just that. So that's I did want to acknowledge that, and just thoughts and prayers to all of them, or however you believe and lift up people in a tragic situation. That's as bad as it gets. Like, from accomplishing one of the best things you can accomplish in your career to basically losing your dad the next day, or not even 24-hour turnaround. Like, terrible. So I did want to say something about that. I don't want to make that the focus of this, because I don't want this to be a super bummer deal. But that was terrible. That's about as bad as you can get. And no matter what happens with Ty Gibbs going forward, he'll never be the same guy, because you're never prepared. You can be 100 years old. You'll never be prepared to lose your mom or dad. So going forward, Ty Gibbs will be a completely different human being, and that's just the way it's going to be. Now, will he be vastly different from how he is now? We'll just have to wait and see. But something like that will grow you up, will age you. It just changes you. Like, I'm not even going to say grow you up or age you, but it just completely changes you. He will be different. He will be a different kind of guy going forward. Now, what that different guy is and how that person looks, we don't know. But he's definitely gone through something, and he won't be the same. He won't be the same. You see it with Dale Jr. Dale Jr. was never the same. He was just a different guy, So and that's and I'll just leave it at that. So that's probably the best way to leave it. Bumblebee saw it the way talking about the Chastain deal. Bumblebee saw it as Chase Elliott cutting across as well. And also, so that's the other deal. Bumblebee says Ross's job isn't to lift; he's racing for the title himself. So that's the other side of it. A lot of people were like, a lot of other people in that situation would have lifted and let off the gas. And I think somebody said, Dale Jr. said that in the booth. And somebody said originally in the booth they were blaming Ross Chastain, and they saw a replay of it. And then they said, well, Ross Chastain could have lifted. Well, you got to know in that situation at a track where it's kind of difficult to pass, A, nobody is going to lift. B, even if it was a situation where somebody is going to lift, Ross Chastain's not that guy that's going to lift. So it's situational awareness from the spotter and the driver to know who you're racing with. Ross Chastain's not going to lift, so don't chop his nose. Tony Stewart, he's not going to lift. Don't chop his nose. Kevin Harvick, when he was younger, not going to lift. Don't chop his nose. Like, we know the drivers who aren't going to lift. We know the drivers you don't cut down on or race close. So, it is what it is. Enzo, what's going on, man? Are you doing live streams during the off season every week? I will continue to do the Tuesday live stream in the off season during the week. Sunday is going to be we'll play Sunday by ear. We will still do some on Sunday, but I'm not going to commit to every Sunday. But definitely the Tuesday, we will do one every Tuesday, unless I'm out of town. And if I'm out of town, maybe I'll try to catch one. I'll try to do it different. Like I'll catch one on a Monday, or I'll try to set something up to wherever I'm at. I can live stream from wherever I'm at. I did buy a little Skyroom Wi-Fi thing. So going forward, I won't be in a situation where I am again, where I got to use my phone data. Like I said, part of this Phoenix deal is a learning deal too for when I do it in the future. Yeah, but Tuesdays, lockdown Tuesdays for sure, and probably at least twice a month we'll do Sundays as well. And then we'll just do some random ones probably throughout as well. And yes, I will keep there will be content if you're newer to the channel throughout the off season. We will continue to pump out. I will continue to my massive team behind me here. We will continue to pump out content throughout the off season as well. There is no vacation. We'll just keep going. Bumblebee said it's on both of them, in my opinion. Yeah, like Ross could have lifted and Chase could have not cut down on his nose. Like, that's probably the fairest way to say it. We do Daytona for the weekend for vintage racing straight through both ways. Also did Atlanta to pick up a race motor, says Mark Langren. He also said in 2 days, including 4 hours at the pickup location. I missed something there. What are we talking about? I don't know what we're talking about there, but let's see. Home guy says, I hope most of the races are won by Harvick and Truex to get them to race longer than 2023. I think a lot of people are in that boat. That's going to be those are two of the most popular drivers without a doubt. And even going to Phoenix, it was like I knew I'd see a lot of Kevin Harvick stuff because it's pretty close to Bakersfield, where he's from. So I knew I would see a lot of Harvick stuff, but just to see a lot of Truex stuff out there. They're guys basically they've been around so long, even if people didn't like them at first, they've been around so long that they've won some people over. So it's definitely going to be a sad day when they retire. So I think a lot of people are like, I hope those guys win a lot of races, so they want to keep doing it as long as possible. Sonny V said Ross and Chase a racing deal. Period. I agree with that. With Coy passing, what do you think the future holds for JGR? Joe is only getting older. That is a great question. I hadn't even really thought about it. Still processing it. Before he passed, I always just assumed he would run it until Ty Gibbs got old enough to run it. Now, with his passing, they are going to have to put somebody in place, much like DEI had Ty Norris. They'll have to put somebody in place to take his spot and sort of hold the torch until Ty Gibbs is done racing and wants to take over. But I think long term Ty Gibbs is going to be the guy that takes it over. But there will be an interim person in between that, and you know, a situation like that going forward, you never know what happens. So we'll just have to see who the interim person is going to be. Mark Langren says Rabbit, Volkswagen Rabbit. Oh, there you go. Oh, okay. Talking about the Yugo. I got you. I got what you're talking about now, Mark Langren. Let's see. For all the tumult that was 2022 season, I'll try to remember this year being Trackhouse's breakthrough year. Team to watch in 2023. Petty GMS Johnson. There you go. So that's yeah. So there is a ton. I would say probably 80 to 70% of this season was positive. Unfortunately, the part of this season, I'll actually even say 85% was positive. However, the part of the season that was not positive is such a big deal that you got to give, at best, the season was like maybe a C minus, right? Because safety is the biggest concern in the world. So when that is your issue with the race car, it knocks the whole season down. But there were a lot of first time winners. Smaller teams were able to compete against bigger teams. And Trackhouse had a breakout year. Petty GMS got back on track. Petty GMS Johnson now, I guess, I got back on track. A lot of positive things. I would say 90% of the news was positive. However, unfortunately, the news that was not positive was like a big deal news. Robert Mark says, or a Pinto. Home guys going a Chevette / Yugo would work. They look the same. So yeah, the Yugo is based on a Fiat 128. That's why I'm saying like a Fiat would work as well. Geo Metros are around cheap in the Yugo realm, says Joe Blow. There you go. Larry Provost, what's going on? He says, you're the man, BB. Great job. You're the man, too, Larry, for watching. I appreciate all y'all watching and supporting the channel. I met a ton of people in Phoenix. I was really surprised. It was very humbling. Somebody asked me how it feels to be recognized, and I said embarrassed. And they said embarrassed. And I said, that's not the right word, but and I guess what I meant was so humbling. Because I never thought I would walk anywhere and people would be like, hey, I know you from YouTube or would know me from anything. And so it's surreal. I can't wrap my head around it. But I tried to talk to as many people as possible, and it was really cool. Like, I just don't know. There's no words to describe it, but I just really appreciate you guys. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So thank you. Like, that's all I can say. Thank you. I'm super happy that we have this community to talk about racing. No Lemons car. That is true junk car racing. A team ran a BMW with 4 drivers. Each put in 10K a weekend. So way too much cheating. Mark Langren, it wouldn't be an actual Lemons car. There's this series called Champ Car, it's not financial. There's just points. So anything you do to the car counts as a modification. So it's not as loose as Lemons. There's actual rules to it. So I call it Lemons because that's how most people recognize it. This used to be called Chump Car, but now they call it Champ Car, and they've tightened up the regulations on it. So that's probably what I would be running. Gloctopus, what's going on? I saw Gloctopus out there. Super nice guy. He said, so cool to spend Saturday with us on the infield and grandstands. Real humble and a true fan. If you come next year, hit me up. If I come next year, I definitely will hit you guys up. And next year, if I come, I'll probably have a van because sleeping in the back of that car was so awful, as you will see on the video of the vlog whenever I make that. I haven't had a chance to touch anything yet. I gotta catch up a lot of other stuff before I start working on that. But part of the content will be all of the races I've gone to this year. I will have vlogs for them that I haven't, obviously I've already done the South Boston one, but the other races, I'll catch them up too. So I've got Wilkesboro, Martinsville, and now Phoenix. So those will be at least three of the things that you'll see in the off season. Sorry, there has to be give and take. Next time Chastain needs to be given a little. He won't get it. And so, yeah, that's a good point, Mark Langer. The move made by Chastain was too early in the race. Yeah, so that's part of it. That brings to mind Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman drove like that his whole career, and that is why they always said Ryan Newman's the hardest guy to pass. But I don't know if you ever noticed, Ryan Newman, that everybody else also made it harder for Ryan Newman to pass too, because they didn't like the way he raced. So it can go both ways. If people don't like it, they can give it back to you. So you saw the first half of Ryan Newman's career, he had a lot more success than the second half of his career. And that's because of in my opinion, part of it, at least a small part of it, was the way people drove him back. So, yeah, you get back to that end if you're going to drive like that. Team Penske fan says, what's up? What's up, Team Penske fan? You had a good weekend for sure this weekend. Let's see. Molten Rage says a son should not have to bury his dad. A father should not have to bury his second son. That's all I'm going to say about the tragedy. Yeah, that's tough. There's no doubt about that, Molten. What more can you say? There's nothing to add to that. Mark Langer said, good job on the bonsai. Yeah, appreciate it. Let's see. Team Penske, I'm so freaking happy Logano won, but rest in peace to Coy Gibbs. I hope heaven treats him well and the Joe Gibbs family and racing gets better, and hope that Ty Gibbs feels better as well. Yeah, same here. Like, just a bad deal. And I think that's the consensus you're going to see. Like, people like to pull against Ty Gibbs because of his personality, but I don't think anybody actually dislikes him, like in real life like that. It's just fun. It's sports, right? It's what we do. And that's what, and Mark Martin fan for life. Regardless of how you feel about Ty Gibbs as the racer, he is a son that lost his father unexpectedly, right? And I think that's where there are things that are bigger than sports and bigger than racing in this occasion. So I think that's where most people are at. Of course, there's always going to be some trolls on the internet that say some bad things, but you just got to ignore them. You got to remember they're the 1%, and even in real life, they probably wouldn't say that in real life, but that's part of the internet. They get behind a keyboard and cover their face and get behind a keyboard and say terrible things. So I just ignore that stuff. Like, I wouldn't even worry about it. I know some people get upset about it. That's why I brought it up. Besides the Yugo, what are your winter projects? Well, old home guy, got to work on getting a better trailer for my car. Right now, my car has an open trailer, so I'm working on getting an enclosed trailer for my car. But there will be some other projects for the channel. I don't want to release them yet because they, they're not necessarily funded, but we will see. We will see what happens for sure. But the Yugo project will be a 10,000K subscriber deal. But we have another project possibly. That will be a car project before that goes down. So we'll just have to see what happens. Maybe it's just a sixth sense, but I have watching Coy talk at Martinsville post-race press conference after the Brand incident. He almost looked like he was in some kind of pain. So, yeah, you just never know what somebody's dealing with, right? So it is what it is. That's why you should always be kind. Appreciate that, TJ Moorshed. That's why I try to tell people, like, always be as nice as you can be, because you never know what somebody's carrying with them. And you never know when it's going to be the last time you see somebody. So always try to be as positive as you can be. And obviously, everybody's going to have a bad day. So nobody's going to be perfect, but always side in the favor of being positive if you can. Mark Barnum says, if he could have lifted, you would have seen him lose 5 positions. Yeah, so that's the other thing. Just because somebody cuts in front of you, you can't you can't. Oh man, you can't lift because you're going to lose 5 spots. So it's just that's what it is. It's a racing deal, you know. So it is what it is. Old home guy says, "What was your favorite food? Track food?" Uh, that's a good question. They had Rudy's Barbecue, and they had pretty good brisket. I reckon that's a chain out there, but that was pretty good. Um, West Coast Weenies, which is also probably, I guess, a chain out there. But West Coast Weenies, I got a sausage from them, a Polish sausage from them, and that was really good. But I think probably everybody's favorite food throughout the weekend was the Bloody Marys that they had. Like you saw, just tons of Bloody Marys, and those things were super super good. Um, and if you don't drink, you can get a virgin one. But those were by far the most popular thing of the weekend. So the Bloody Marys at the track, I think, would probably have to be, without a doubt, the best. Mark Barnum said Danny B did a live stream last night with a call-in segment. That's pretty cool. I don't have that technology yet, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll get that far, but we'll definitely keep the live streams going, no doubt. Let's see. Appreciate that, Mark Barnum. I was late getting in. How was the trip home? Always harder going east than west. Says Mark Martin, fan for life. Well, I took off right. I let all the traffic clear out. Like I had to make my video and upload it anyway, so I let all the traffic get out of there, and it wasn't bad. I just left straight from Phoenix, and I was making good time, and I guess I was pumped up from like just being at the race, and like I just really didn't get sleepy. About midway through Tennessee, I started getting tired, so I pulled off and I took a little nap in the Love's parking lot. I didn't even get. I just sat in the seat and laid it back. I just took a nap. Then went and got another Monster or a Rockstar, and I was doing good until about like North Carolina. Like that's when it hit me again. But I was super close to my house by then, so I was like, whatever, we're close enough. It's not that bad. So I just got to the house, walked in, set up the live stream for today, and then went straight to bed and woke up, and here you go. So it wasn't that bad. I did it in 1 day and 7 hours on the way back. On the way over there was totally different. I took a lot more time getting over there. But on the way back, I did it in 1 day and 7 hours. For all of you who are wondering how long the Arizona to North Carolina Cannonball is, I did it in 1 day and 7 hours. If you're really hard nosed, you could definitely beat that time. There's no doubt about it. There was a lot of stops for Monster and bathroom breaks and things like that. I wasn't pushing it hard, but I did make pretty good time. Definitely getting to Tennessee. Like my time from Arizona to Tennessee, that I made good time doing that. Then Tennessee to North Carolina, I sort of slowed it down because I was wearing out. So I took it easy from Tennessee all the way back home. So that probably took up more of my time there than anything else on the trip. But it wasn't a bad drive on the way back. The drive, I don't know, for whatever reason, I struggled hard driving up there. Like I was struggling hard driving up there. I had to stop a lot and sleep. So you just never know how it's going to hit you. Let's see. Billy Joe says, if you could choose between the LA Coliseum or the Chicago street course, which one would you pick? Oh, man. I feel like the LA Coliseum is going to be a better race. So as far as from a racing perspective, that's probably going to be your way better race. Next year, however, that's going to be the second time they've done the Coliseum. So if you want to go to an absolute NASCAR first, it just depends on what you value. If you want to go to the first ever race of some sort, go to the Chicago street course. If you want to go to the one that's probably, without knowing anything that's ever going to happen in Chicago, but without a doubt, like a little bull ring is probably going to put on a better race than a street course. So I would say, as far as that goes, I would lean toward the LA Coliseum. Now, there are other factors. Now, do you like doing things? Is there some stuff in and around LA that you would like to see? Is there some stuff in and around Chicago you would like to see? That would probably factor into more of it than anything else. I've been to California before. I've been to basically LA and down. And I've been the only northern Cal or NorCal, NoCal, whatever they call it. The only Northern California spot I've been to is Big Sur. So maybe if it was a race that was happening in Northern California, I would pick that. But I've sort of seen what's going on in Southern California, and it's cool and it's great. But I've never seen anything going on in Chicago. So for me personally, even though I think the LA Coliseum will put on a better race, and there's definitely really cool stuff to do in Southern California, particularly San Diego, Old Town. That was mentioned to me. Next time I go, I need to go to Old Town. So there are things in California I'd like to see. But that being said, if I had to choose between the two, for me personally, just because I've never been to Chicago and I would like to get the Chicago experience, I would probably pick the Chicago street race over those of those two. But it's that like I said, that's just me personally. If you've never been, you just have to factor and weigh those in for yourself. Also, Chicago's a lot closer, so if I drove that one, the drive would be shorter. So you got to factor all that stuff factors in. But for me, I would do the Chicago street course over the LA Coliseum. Ty's mother could be that person. Oh yeah, so yeah, there you go. Ty's mom could step in. She could kind of be like what Kelly Earnhardt does for JRM. So there you go. You never know who's going to step in. That would be really good. That way you keep it all in the family. That would probably be the best option if she's interested in doing that. How about Junior in Cup 24 with 2 cars with Truex and Harvick? I think if Junior Motorsports comes up to Cup, it would be a 2-car team. It's hard, and Truex would be the driver. I don't know who they would put in that other car. Instead of Harvick, I would say that they would probably put Josh Berry. Now, before all of this stuff went down, I really thought it was going to be Truex and Noah, and they would split time in one car, sort of like Mark Martin did back in the day with Eric Almirola, was it? I think it was Eric Almirola. But I think if you do it now, you would have 2 cars, and you would have Truex in one car, and you would have a younger guy. I know Josh Berry is no spring chicken, but I think you'd have a young guy like Josh Berry in the other car. And I think Josh Berry is definitely the future over there at Junior Motorsports as far as them moving up the Cup. I think that's the guy they want to go with. But I also think from a nostalgic perspective, he wants to open up with a guy like Martin Truex, sort of a bookend deal. That's how he started out, and that's how he got the Cup, was with Martin Truex. So I think he definitely wants to get Martin Truex involved in that deal. So those would be the 2 I would see. But you never know. The only way I see it being Harvick is if Harvick has a partial ownership in it, and I just don't know how that would go down. Just a lot to process on that one. Stupid Roofer says, "Hi, how's it going? Doing good today, Stupid Roofer. Hope your hand is healed up, buddy. I'm sticking with the AMC Gremlin," says Bumblebee, as far as the Yugo project. Fix it again, Tony. Try a Lotta or a 128 CL. Yeah, so the 128 CL is actually what the Yugo is based on. That's a Fiat. Let's see. Stupid Roofer goes 07. TJ Van, what's going on, buddy? I'm going to say this. We need to start taking Joey Logano seriously. I don't think anybody's not necessarily taking him seriously. I think there's just people that boo him and cheer against him. I think people sleep on him way too much. Honestly, I think he's our best chance of a back-to-back champion, potentially 4-time. So yeah, that's okay. So that's a good point. So this is what a lot of people don't think about, because Joey Logano has been around for a very long time. Joey Logano is just now getting into the peak of his career. Joey Logano is just now getting into the best, statistically, as far as drivers by age. Joey Logano has just now entered his peak. So this is going to be the best Joey Logano, you at least by the numbers, that we're ever going to see. So for the next 5 or 6 years, Joey Logano is going to be tough. Mark Langren, you mean Chump Car or another class of J? Chump Car is a Champ Car, so it would be, and it would be the 1.8, so it would be the lowest division of Champ Car. So that would be what I would be racing. So that would be what the project's going to be set up for. Any thoughts on Junior's Bass Pro Shop scheme and ride for next year? The late model looks really good, but we've seen that scheme before. We know that one looks really good. I like his Xfinity scheme. I like I like the orange on it. The gold. So here's what I'll say. So Craig Moore, the guy that I basically work for, that is the scheme he runs all the time. It's the scheme he started off with in like '99. He puts a one on his. He's the one, but his scheme is very similar to the Bass Pro Shop scheme. So where everybody's probably really excited to see that Bass Pro Shop scheme, I look at it almost every day. So I am used to it, almost immune to it. So I'm not appreciating it as much as everybody else is appreciating it. Is probably the best way to say that. But I was really excited for the new scheme that Junior's got on the 88 for the Xfinity car. Not that I'm unexcited about the other car, but I look at it every day, basically, for the most part. I mean, it's not the exact Bass Pro Shop scheme, but you know what I'm getting at. So I look at that one every day. I'm very used to black and gold. So my car, I'll do a reveal on my car one day. My car is black and gold. So it it doesn't that one didn't hit me as good as the Sundrop one hit me. It's probably the best way to say that. Let's see. What part of North Carolina are you from? I'm from the 919, says Connor Brown. I was born in the 919. I'm a Durhamite from Durham, the Dirty D. So that's where I was born, but I live basically on the border. I'm basically there's YouTube toss where you can't dox yourself, so I can't say the exact same town, the exact town I'm in. But I'm basically on the North Carolina border in between Orange County and South Boston. I'm probably 35 minutes from South Boston and maybe 20, 25 minutes from Orange County. So I'm right in between. Yeah, right there on the border, Connor. So not far from let's see. Let's give you a pretty decent location. What's good here? I don't know if you know where Henderson's at, but I'm pretty close to Henderson. So go one down from Henderson. So there you go. Mark Langren, not a gremlin, a pacer. The Windex mobile, Mark Langren, a pacer. Get all the Windex. Of course, it would be a race car, so you wouldn't have to worry about that. So that would actually probably relieve a lot of weight, taking all the windows out. KSR Performance and Fabrication has a shirt that my race car identifies as a student loan. Well, there you go. That's pretty good. Because that's basically any race car is a money pit. There's no doubt about it. So that's the other reason I would do a champ car. And look, obviously there are like Mark Langren put out, there are guys that spend basically late model money on lower series, and good for them. They're having fun. They're doing what they need to do. They're outspending everybody, and they feel good about winning like that. So good for them. But I would just be going out there to have fun. I would put hard work into it, but I'm not going to drop a ton of money relative to race cars into the champ car. So it would be a car to go out there and have fun and just absolutely let it rip with. I was pulling for Free to Paces. I was pulling for Ross, being a Florida man myself, but Chase needs to remember race Ross the same way. Don't ever lift. Yeah, that's a great point. Ross, I see in the 22 beside him, Ross would have ran over his grandmother. Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with that. It's the last race. There's going to be hurt feelings. It was a racing deal. Chase made an aggressive move to get in front of Ross. Ross didn't lift. That's it. Like, nobody is really at fault. Chase is trying to get that pass. Chase is trying to get that pass to get up there and contend with Joey Logano. Ross Chastain is trying to get that pass to get up there and contend with Joey Logano. They both went for it. This time, Chase Elliott is on the wrong side of it. There will be times in the future where Ross Chastain will be on the wrong side of it. But at the end of the day, it's just a racing deal. Mark Langer says, check the trailer guy for new trailers with minor damage. I got a 24-footer for, dang, that's a good deal rather than 8K. Dang, you can get a new one for 8K, Mark? You are, man, where are you living at, dude? Man, just a 24-foot tag along up here is 10 right now. But yeah, that's I will definitely check that out. Appreciate it, Mark. Will Trackhouse be running Project 91 at the Coliseum, says one wise guy. So that's a good point. We don't know exactly what they're going to run, because there was a lot of speculation that Jimmy Johnson was going to be one of the guys that ran the Trackhouse car, right, the 91. So now that he is with Petty GMS Johnson, he is, and we don't know their official title yet. That's just what I'm calling them. The Project 91 car is sort of up in the air as to who's going to drive it. Now, we know in the Daytona 500 it will probably be Helio Castroneves. I don't know if they've made that official yet, but that sort of adds up and lines up. That's basically the rumor that everybody's thinking will happen, that Dan Hawk will pay the money to get Helio Castroneves because he guaranteed Helio Castroneves, if he won a race in the SRX, he would get him a ride for the Daytona 500. So everybody's assuming that it's going to be the Project 91 for Daytona. But yeah, they will run the Project 91 car. I think they're just getting some things lined up as to who can do what. Obviously, the biggest thing they're waiting on is every other organization to put their schedule out so they can figure out which drivers can drive which. So that would be my thoughts on the holdup there. Mark Langer said, my flying international, the other way around for me. I understand that. I'm not a big fan of flying commercial. So whenever I can drive, I'll drive. I'll fly commercial if I have to. It's just a hassle. Going through the airports, checks and security, to me, is just a big hassle. I don't know. I've got my own thoughts on it, and I'll keep them to myself. I do like flying. I just don't like flying commercial, I guess I should say. Not that I know like a ton of people with private jets or anything, but my buddy is a pilot. So every once in a while I fly, our buddy will fly us in he's got a personal aircraft and we'll go that route. So that's the one. I'm not like, jet setting with people. Looks like Brandon Jones is a good fit for JRM. I think so too. I think that's going to be a good fit, a good situation. Pretty funny that Noah got into him. A lot of people made a big deal about that. That was such a nothing burger. It is what it is. That was another racing deal. Let's see, loaded up and trucking. Yeah, no doubt about it. Jesse Michelle, I was rolling for sure. Rusty Beechwood, what's going on, man? MPLS to Daytona with a trailer, 22 hours. To Sebring with a trailer, 24 hours. Oh, there you go. That's not a bad run. Like if you can get anywhere within a day, I feel like that's fair enough. Rhino's Race Room, 66. He's going with Chicago as far as that pit goes. Yeah, I think Chicago will be a fun experience. There's no doubt about it. Mark Langer says not in the wintertime, though. Hoping to go to the Coke 600 next year. So that's a great one to go to, Mark Barnum. Any race at Charlotte is really good. And Charlotte probably would have been my best racetrack until I went to Phoenix. I would have said Charlotte puts on the best fan experience. But now Charlotte's not even close to Phoenix. But I do feel like they are probably second or third best behind. I need to go see one in Miami. Everybody says Miami puts on a pretty good show, too. So I would put them in the top three as far as that goes. But yeah, without a doubt, the Coke 600, check it out. Every time I go to the Coke 600, I have a strategy of I sit in the parking lot. Now, you might not want to follow this strategy, but I sit in the parking lot for the first 100 laps. And here's why. I can enjoy all my food, all my beverages for way cheaper than track prices. And when I do decide to go in after 100 laps, and usually I'm with people that have the race on their TV with their trailer or camper or whatever. So I am still able to watch the race. Even if I didn't, I would have a radio. I could listen to it. But if you miss the first 100 laps, you walk in, there's no line. You just walk straight to your seat. You get in, boom. So there you go. That is my strategy for the Coke 600. You still see 500 miles of racing, but you skip basically all the really long lines and stuff like that. And it is a really long race. If your guy, wrecks out or isn't doing good, also leave before the last 100 laps to beat traffic and all that stuff. So that is my strategy for the Coke 600. If you've never been, I used to go to the Coke 600 every single year. Now I've switched it to Martinsville. I go to Martinsville instead every single year, every chance I get. But that's my strategy for the Coke 600 because it is a long race. It is a long race. The other reason I stopped going to the Coke 600 is because I wanted to watch basically the F1 race, and then I wanted to watch the Indy 500, and then I wanted to also watch the Cup race. So I do skip that one now because I get to see all those races, And sometimes you couldn't, one of those races, until recently, you couldn't watch one of those races on TV because it was hard to find the F1 race unless you had like a special streaming service or whatever. But now, not so much. Let's see. Rusty Beachwood says the small 125 short track of the Coliseum is going to be a better race. Agreed. Yeah, I think it will be a better race, but I think you don't go to those races necessarily for the race, and that's why I said it like that. You go for the experience, and it's just what you want to experience. And I think Chicago, I think the LA Coliseum is always going to be a great experience, but it's not going to top what it did last year. Last year, LA Coliseum was the ticket. This year, I think the ticket is going to be North Wilkesboro, and the other ticket, which is going to be an expensive ticket, but the other big ticket to go to is going to be Chicago. So I think the Chicago Street Course will be the second biggest ticket of the season this season, no doubt. Old Home Guy says I'd pick the All Star if someone was to race next year. Yeah, that would be cool too for the Project 91 deal. I think for sure. One wise guy says the Gas Lamp District in San Diego. Yeah, for sure. So I used to read when I was younger. I used to read a lot of like Ken Kesey, Jack Kerouac. So I know where you're at, one wise guy. I'm pretty familiar with what you're talking about. At least what as it existed in their era when they were writing those books. So yeah. I have an affinity for all that stuff. Was a history major, so I read a lot of stuff. I sort of was very interested in that at one time. I am 2 hours away from the Kansas City track. Been there many times and bored with that track. Yeah, so you can wear a track out. There's no doubt about it. I drove straight, only gas from Niagara Falls to Disney in 23 hours. There you go, Robin Marks, putting the pedal to the metal there and sticking with it. Epileptic Bumblebee says Josh Berry is 31, kind of a Dale Jarrett style late bloomer. It's a cup. So yeah, that's a good point also. So back in the day, a driver when they're in their 28, 29, 30, 31, that's actually back in the day when a lot of guys were a rookie in cup before Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon changed all that. So it's not, to me, it's not unusual for a driver to be there. But at that age, but it is unusual now because it's been such a long time, and I don't think a lot of people remember that. Let's see. Mark Langren says, so is the Lada. A lot of glass in that one, I'm assuming. I think Harvick is ready to stick a fork in it. I don't know. Maybe in his Cup career. I think he's got some other stuff lined up that he wants to do. But I'm not going to talk about that. Let's see. How do you think Kyle will do at RCR? Also, how do you think KBM will do? I think Kyle Busch is going to do good at RCR. I think Kyle Busch is going to be very good at RCR. KBM, I think, will be the same KBM. Statistically, it's not going to look like it. Kyle Busch is still probably going to get his 5 wins at KBM. But he's got 2 drivers in Jack Wood and Chase Purdy that are not the same caliber of drivers, in my opinion, that he had. At least not yet. They have potential, and I'm not taking a crap on those guys, but they're not Chandler Smith, like, so, and they're not Corey Haim. Like, I'm just keeping it real. I'm not trying to take a crap on them. They've got time to improve and get better. We've watched Brandon Jones improve and get better, so I'm not taking a crap on them by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying they're not that caliber driver yet. So I think statistically it's going to look like a down year, but it's going to be a good year. Let's see. And I was going to read. Oh, so I think they'll be just as good. I think they just got drivers that aren't as good as the drivers they had previously, at least not yet. Now they might have breakout years now that they're in KBM equipment. You never know. Let's see. Moulton, I was fixing to read that, Moulton. You deleted it on me. What are you doing? Joey's a legend. I don't care who says what. On track numbers don't lie. Yeah, Joey Logano, like you can love or hate Joey Logano. It doesn't matter. But Joey Logano is one of the top 5 drivers out there right now, and it's not even close. Let's see. Rhino's Race Room 66. I had the 22. Should have bet more. I'm in the same boat. I also would like to point out, other than taking Kevin Harvick for the long shot on the win, I killed everything on DraftKings. Every single one of my DraftKings, all the prop bets, I went 100 for 100 on those. And I basically told you who was going to win the championship. So there you go. I was pretty stoked about that as well. I didn't actually bet anything myself though, because I couldn't find a convenience store that had the DraftKings. What do you call those? Those little cards you buy, gift cards. Be interesting to see who is the breakout driver in Xfinity. Xfinity is going to be really interesting next year because the two bigger names have already left, so it's gonna be interesting to see who fills that void. The kid in the 18 looks good in Xfinity. Oh yeah, Sammy Smith's gonna be awesome. Sammy Smith, he's gonna be one of those guys that'll fill that void for sure. Smokey Unick, race cars were always black and gold, says Mark Wachowski. No doubt about it. I've got a Smokey Unick book, Best Damn Garage. Is the Smokey Unick book, so that's definitely a good book if you're into reading and stuff like that. Smokey Unick was a man. Richard Hole, have you ever been to Kittrell? I've been through it, haven't been to it, but yes, I know where you're at. Have they got rid of Mark Langren says, have they got rid of Rubbin? No, they have not got rid of Rubbin. Rubbin is still racing. Billy Joe says, Danville ring any bells? My buddy lives there. I know exactly where Danville's at. Used to go to the mall up in Danville back in the day quite often. Rusty Beechwood, Racing Incidents, Danville, Virginia, just in case anybody's wondering what I was talking about there. Racing Incidents, definitely agreed, says Rusty Beechwood on the Chastain deal. We got to get a new bumper for my 2020 Impala. I decided to accidentally hit a rock that was kicked up by a big truck, went right through the front end. Oh, that stinks. I was so concerned about that with my car driving through there. But luckily we got through with no flat tires and nothing like that. Because like you think of like a long road trip like that, anything can happen. The closest I got to a situation was and this was really cool too, because I'd never seen an elk in real life, or I don't know what they are, but over there when I got to this was in Arizona, Tonto Forest, like that little side trip you can take Tonto Forest to get into Phoenix through that route. There was this big elk that walked out in front of my car, and I was the navigation did something stupid, so I was trying to like do all that, and I looked up and there's this big elk in the center lane, and I stopped, and it wasn't really nearly as close as I'm making it out to be, but it was shocking to me because I'd never seen an animal like this before, and I stopped. All the other lanes had already stopped, and I stopped. And he was just sitting there chilling, and I looked at him, he looked at me, and for whatever reason, when I looked at him and he looked at me, he ran and he just like just jumped up the hill with like the greatest of ease. And I was like, man, that was really cool. And I was like, I'm super glad I didn't hit him, because that probably would have been a really bad way to end the trip. Might have ended my trip on this planet as well. So yeah, I was definitely concerned about that, but I'd forgotten about that. I wanted to mention that. I'd never seen a lot of stuff over here, like deer and stuff like that, but that was without a doubt. It wasn't as big as a moose, but it was the next size down. It was some type of elk that they've got up there, and that thing was really cool. So let's see. Freedom Factory, Cletus McFarland has Cletus in the cars 19th and 2.4 hours of Le Mullets on the 20th. If anyone needs a racing fix after the Cup season is over, says old home guy. Also, next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend, I think Dale Jr. is racing at Florence, South Carolina. So if you're near that and want to check that out, you can go check that out. So there's definitely plenty of action still going on in the off season, and I will try to cover some of it. With Petty GMS getting Johnson vocal about Hendricks, giving him the 48. That would move the group to HMS equipment. It could be, but basically, from what I understand, all that stuff's basically the same now, because Chevrolet and RCR and Hendrick basically are combining notes very closely. All of your road course stuff came from RCR this year, and they did that because they saw what Ford was doing. They saw where Ford was beating them. And obviously Toyota doesn't even have to merge anything. They've got two teams, and they're both going through JGR. So Toyota's just JGR, so all their notes are the same. That's the reason I don't mention Toyota. Everybody's like, oh, you never mentioned Toyota. That's why I'm not mentioning Toyota, because it's just JGR right now. Everything goes through JGR. But Chevrolet saw how Ford did things, right? Stuart Haas seems to sort of be on the outs about that just a bit. But you see Roush, RFK, you see Penske, they all share the same notes. There is basically one Ford. So Chevrolet saw that and they've made all that stuff. So I don't think it'll be as big a deal one way or the other. But I would, even if it was, I would assume they're sticking with RCR because Jeff Gordon's already over there doing the Hendrick deal, and I think Jimmy Johnson was to sort of put his own stamp on this deal. But that would just be my guess. But either way, where they get the equipment from, it's going to be basically the same stuff. ECR, Hendrick engines have already merged. A lot of people, just in case you didn't know that, a lot of people have pointed that out as well. I think next year Eric Jones will be an outside title threat. With the money that is being spent by Maury Gallagher, I finally said his name right. I would agree that Petty GMS is going to be vastly improved, and I see him being a threat. I also see Colleague being a threat with AJ Allmendinger. I think a lot of people will be surprised by Colleague next season. Mark Langer says, I agree on the driving. Had a project in Lexington, 16 hours rather than flying. Yeah, it's just after the Trade Center deal, flying in the United States is not a good experience anymore. Mark Langer said that was 5 years ago. Darlington, old school, says Finn Larson. Yeah, Darlington's one of the better tracks you can go to, without a doubt. T-Van says, make sure you wear your protection vests if you're going to Chicago. T-Van, of the two choices, you could say the same thing about LA, though. I mean, to be totally fair. So I wouldn't like that. Wouldn't even, as far as those two choices, I wouldn't even factor that in because I was tit for tat, in my opinion. Mark Langren can't handle the seats. Motorhome it. Oh yeah, that's another good point. The seats, they actually showed a thing where some of the airlines are actually going to start getting in trouble now because they have like over the years they keep shrinking the seats. So that's another good point. The sheets. Check out Sheets for all of your Monster Energy drinks and stuff like that. Anyway, the seats on airplanes keep getting smaller, and the airlines might be looking at a possible. The government might actually step in and set a regulated size for seats of airplanes in the United States, at least. So they keep shrinking them, and Americans are not shrinking. We're getting bigger and not taller. We're getting bigger in a bad way. Also, be sure to have a good car, have good car insurance. Yeah, no doubt about it. And a good glass shop on call. Yeah, that's also for sure. How many cup races have you been to? Do you think at least 50? Rhino's Race Room, 50, at least 50 cup races. I would have to sit down and really think about that one, but I would say at least 50. Angus 420 says bring back Motoguy. Yeah, they could definitely do that. That would be the twin ring at Motoguy. I think they only did that one time, but I think that would be a bigger deal now than it was in 97 or 98 because more people know about it. With the introduction of video games where you can play other tracks that you probably had never heard of back in 97, I think if they ran the twin ring, it would probably be a bigger deal. Memorial weekend at Bristol International Raceway. Watch F1 in the morning, do a warm up and race. Watch the majority of the Indy and Coke 600 and tow home, avoiding the traffic. There you go. That's exactly how you do it. Imagine Dale Jr. running the Project 91 at North Wilkesboro. That would be something else. I don't know if that would ever happen, but that could definitely that would turn some heads. Any reason why Ford fields so few trucks in the Camping World Series, says Paul Sayers. I don't know, man. Ford's development program has been called out by Tony Stewart well before this season. So I don't understand what they've got going on. I don't understand why they do their development program the way they do it, but it's definitely, in my opinion, not understanding the inner workings and why they do what they do. In my opinion, they need to take a look at it and probably clean it up, fix it, and they definitely need more trucks in the truck series, and they need more cars in the Xfinity series too. Have you ever been to the Indy 500? Says T-Van. I've not been to the Indy 500, but the first ever race where we built the we'll just call it the electric go-kart, for lack of a better term. The Endurance 24-hour electric car, the first ever race car I helped build, that was at Indianapolis Speedway. So my first race that I was actually involved in was at Indianapolis Speedway, but I haven't been there for the 500. Mark Langren, Danville Group 44. There you go. I know exactly. I'm not sure about Group 44, but I know what you're talking about with Danville there. Harb Dog has one more title in him. Says Rusty Beechwood. Yeah, just has to have stuff bounce his way. No doubt about it. Priest in the 41 here or Cole Custer. It's probably going to be Cole Custer. He's got the backing, so I don't know. Sven Larson says Chicago doesn't want it. Yeah, that's a good point, Sven. Sven pointing out that there's a lot of people in Chicago that don't even want the race. So as big of an expense as it's going to be, there's going to be some pushback. That is a fair statement. Thanks for pointing that out, Sven. That is a fair statement. You're not going to get the full community buy-in that you have at other racetracks. I feel like the LA Coliseum was a full community buy-in. I could be wrong, but I don't remember anything coming out where anybody in that area didn't want the race to happen or anything like that. At least a large percentage. There were a few environment activists maybe that didn't want something. I might vaguely remember that. But that is a good point as far as picking what race you want to watch. Good point, Sven. Let's see. My local favorite, Ryan Priest, in the 41 next year. Cole Custer says TJ Morshed. I just read that one. I think it's going to be Cole Custer. What about Nick Sanchez as well with the KBM satellite team? He's really good. So, yeah, I think Nick Sanchez will put up some good numbers. No doubt about that. So I think of the guys they've got, he's going to be the better driver, even though he's a part-timer. Jack Wood and Chase Purdy. Molten Rage says Jack Wood and Chase Purdy are garbage, like literal garbage. KBM is going to be terrible next year. That's just a fact. Unless a miracle, one of them becomes a good driver, we're going to see a lot of wrecked race trucks. So there you go. That's Molten's take on it. I'm never going to call anybody garbage. That's just not my style. But like and that's why I point out Brandon Brown. Like Brandon Brown's the worst driver I've ever seen. Well, now, not Brandon Brown. Why do I always do that, dude? Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones, everybody was like, oh, he's the worst driver I've ever seen. Brandon Jones is terrible. Then Brandon Jones just put in the work, and he kept working and getting better and better and better. And now Brandon Jones has gotten to the point where he's competing. He would have been in the Final Four, if it wasn't for getting, punted. He would have been in the Final Four competing for a championship in Xfinity. So that's what I'm saying. You never know when a guy or a driver is going to put in work and get better. So I never want to say somebody's garbage. They're just not to the potential of the other drivers that basically they're replacing. So we'll just put it that way. Greg Fouché says, I enjoy the show. Keep up the good work. I will. I appreciate you watching, Greg. Billy Joe Pockersbaum, Bristol will be giving financial help to Nashville Fairgrounds for renovations, including adding around 30,000 additional seats. That's awesome. That's good news. So hopefully the Nashville Fairgrounds is the race they really want instead of the Nashville Speedway that they've been racing at this year. So hopefully they get that going. Old Home Guy says, did everyone vote today? So make sure you get out there and vote if you have not done that. I don't care who you vote for. Just make sure you get out there and vote. Epileptic Bumblebee says, who's to say KBM won't improve them, though? That's a fair point. So, it's sort of a chicken and the egg argument. But they'll definitely look the best they're going to look in KBM equipment, in my opinion. Xfinity prediction: Sam Mayer is going to break out completely and become a championship contender, dominating most of the regular season in the playoffs, just to lose in heartbreaking fashion. Yeah, that's part of the bummer of the playoffs. Somebody can have a great season and you just don't get rewarded for it. But Sam Mayer is a very good pick. Good pick there, Moulton. Give people a chance and good stuff, Moulton. Says Bumblebee. That's a fair point. To be fair, Chase Purdy and them haven't exactly driven the best stuff in previous years. In my opinion, congrats. I'm not sure on Jack Wood. I can't remember who he was driving for, but I don't think Chase Purdy's drove anything super good off the top of my head. Congrats to Austin Cindric on winning Rookie of the Year. Yeah. And that's another point about I think I made that point like a while back. the rookie system is so broken. It's even more broken than the regular point system. Austin Cindric won the Rookie of the Year before the playoffs started. So right, basically the day the playoffs started, Austin Cindric was your Rookie of the Year. But congrats to him. Still a major accomplishment. Rookie of the Year. It's always one thing as a driver they want to put that little feather in their cap. Anthony Auto Club Speedway says, your opinion, do we get more than 16 winners before the playoffs in 2023? I'm going to take the under on that. I think we're going to have more repeat winners next season just because they've had more looks at this car and they've sort of got a better understanding on it. So I think I think it'll still be more than we've seen in previous years. But I think it'll be under 16 for sure. Cup Roy in 24, Rookie of the Year should be interesting, says Mark Langer. Yeah, that's going to be the best Rookie of the Year battle we've had in a while. Between those two guys, Noah and Ty Gibbs, they don't like each other. They're not fans of each other, and they're both going to want to win it. Not even because it's Rookie of the Year, but just because they want to beat the other guy at something extra. So I think that's going to be a super fun one to watch. Austin Hill will have a dominant year in Xfinity, in my opinion. To my knowledge, he should be there. Yeah, I think he's going to be another one to watch. Also, I'm interested to see what he does in Cup because RCR is big on him, and I could definitely see RCR adding a car just for him. Let's see. If Tyler Reddick's contract hadn't got bought out, I think they would have added the extra car for Austin Hill. Chase Purdy, Moulton is not a fan of Chase Purdy. Maybe has potential, but he's got to get better during the season. Begin with this year still was not good in a championship. There you go. My dream car is a 1967 Chevelle like Smokey's. I was born in 1967, says Robin Marks. That was a beautiful car. Probably his most famous car, really. When you see pictures, they usually use pictures of that car, the old 13. Although don't forget, Smokey Yunick did run the 3 car for a while, so don't sleep on that. Smokey Yunick ran the 3 car, and then he ran the 13 car. Let's see. Mark Wachowski says, I have a Smokey Yunick book. Bought at his daughter's exotic bird store called Birdland in Daytona, and she signed it for me. That's really cool. I think that's where mine came from. I ordered it online from like Smokey's Best Damn Garage or whatever, but I'm pretty sure she it's just her exotic bird shop or whatever. But that's definitely where mine came from. As for the car, the insurance did cover it, just waiting on the pieces to be delivered. So there you go. Bumblebee's just waiting on some parts and pieces, and she will be back on the road with the 2020 Impala. Man, what was that song? It was a Nelly song. He said something about a Jeff Gordon and an Impala or something like that. I don't know. I heard it on the way. I heard so many songs I've forgotten about on the trip. So that's why that stuck out in my head. I have no hope for Jack Wood. It'll be a miracle if he becomes anywhere near competitive. Chase Purdy is bad, but again, his potential I will say, but Jack Wood is terrible. It would take a miracle. So there you go. That is Moulton's analysis of KBM. They're terrible, and one needs a miracle. Let's see. Jimmy Johnson wasn't worth a damn in Xfinity, and we will see, and we all see where that led. LOL says Bumblebee, talking about people in lower divisions getting better. NASCAR guy, what's up, man? Here's a peace sign back for you, brother. Fun fact, while Grant Enfinger finished top 10 in points in a GMS truck, Jack Wood finished outside the top 20, 24th in points this year. That's not just garbage. That's horrendous, says Molten Rage. In a year, you mean Haas, says Mark Langren. We get it. Who won the Owners' Championship? I think Chevrolet won the Owners' Championship. I think they had that wrapped up before, or the Manufacturers' Championship. The Owners' Championship would probably be the 22 car, maybe. I'll have to look that up. I don't know. My phone, I don't want to. If I look it up on my phone's on the Wi-Fi here, it'll probably make this go bad. So if somebody wants to look up who won the manufacturers or the owners, I'm sorry, the owners who won, because I know like was it like Kyle Larson? It was a different Final Four, but I'm pretty sure he didn't win it because he didn't finish even top 5. I don't think. Maybe Hendrick and Truex will be in Honda or Volkswagen in 2024. Or maybe Harvick. I don't know why I said Hendrick. Old Home Guy says maybe Harvick and Truex will be in Honda or Volkswagen in 2024. So that's a classic move that a manufacturer would make if they're coming in. They like to get a veteran. If you remember when Toyota came in, they got Dale Jarrett. There's no doubt about it. That could definitely happen. Jonathan W., and that was Old Home Guy, by the way. Jonathan W. says, time to watch small weekend races now that NASCAR is over. Short track scene is refreshing to watch after the chaos of big league racing, for sure. No doubt about it. Flow TV, also really good. Angus 420 says, I trust the Taco Bell wet fart more than the airlines. Mark Martin fan for life. Everywhere is a big drive for me. Denver, Billings, Montana, Rapid City, all 4 hours away. Salt Lake City is 5 hours away. Those are the closest cities over 100K in population. So there you go. Yeah, Billings, Montana. I have not been there yet. So that's one I need to add to the list. Mark Langren, Motegai, Motegi. Yeah, I struggle with the English language. I apologize. That's why I call it the twin ring. So Motegai, Motegi, however you say it. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see, Mark Langren from Minnesota. Let's see. Minnesota's got ice racing, so that could be something off season. Mark Martin, everything is spread out in the West. Mark Martin fan says everything is spread out in the West. Let's see. Jonathan W. Ford puts more money into what makes them more money, not what could continue to build their future in racing. Yeah, that's a fair point. But every once in a while, they open up the pocketbooks and they do go hardcore on the racing. You saw that the year that Kevin Harvick won 9 races. That was the year they opened up the racing pocketbooks. Sports car, I think Jaguar, British, and Leyland. That British racing green looks really good for sure. I've always been a big fan of that. They made a Miata. Miata is based on a British 2-seater sports car, and they had a called a British green Miata. Is a really good looking car. Angus 420. If you're gonna do Chicago, go back to Chicagoland. I think that there are plans for that in the future at some point, but they're gonna do the street race for a while first and see how that goes. Censored DMM or Censored MM says KBM, give them a chance at least. Talking to Moulton. They said Cindric was trash at first, but look at him now. That's another good point, Jonathan W. Making there, and that's what I'm saying. Like they're not necessarily what we think of as the same caliber as KBM drivers right now, but give them a chance. They put in the work. They definitely could get there. That's all I'm saying about that. Remember, KBM trucks are going to be RCR trucks. Yeah, so I think they're going to have plenty of speed. There's no doubt about that. They just don't have the same experienced drivers that they have now. With Troubles, JGR, and by experience, I mean drivers with a bunch of wins. Drivers they've got have wins now. Aaron Flynn, with Troubles, JGR had. With M&M's, what are they doing to lose Menards as well? I guess they lost Brandon Jones, and I guess that's why they lost Menards. I feel like Menards is just a Brandon Jones deal, in my opinion. I think they just want to stick with Brandon Jones. Also, and you can't factor out that anything Dale Jr. touches right now has been gold. So people that are sponsoring stuff are probably looking at going to JRM and wanting to be a part of that. So that's also another way to factor that in. Nothing against Gibbs or anything like that. For the longest time, the same reason people went to Gibbs was everything Gibbs touched went to gold. Mark Langer said yes on AJ Allmendinger when I was talking about I think Kyle is going to surprise some people a minute ago. Kyle Busch has always had good drivers, so he must see something in Chase and Jack. Says Mark Bukowski. I mean, I think that's a fair statement, and the counter statement of that, there's a lot of people that he's just taking pay drivers now. So we're gonna have to see how that plays out. But I agree with you. I don't think he's just gonna stick anybody in his truck. Nashville Fairgrounds is my home track. Wish us luck. That's awesome. Rhino's Race Room 66. That's awesome. I'm hoping at some point to make it out to a race out there. So we'll see how that goes. Favorite driver voting is open. Make it happen for Chastain, not Chase Elliott. So I think Ross Chastain probably would have had a shot at it if he hadn't tangled with Chase Elliott, judging from fan reaction and T-shirts and hats bought at racetracks. But I have no doubt that it'll be Chase Elliott by a landslide as usual. But go out there and vote for your favorite driver. I know you're all going to vote for Austin Dillon. So go ahead and get those 3 votes in now. Did you ever look into a bologna burger T-shirt? I do have T-shirts. Hold on one second. Let me hold up. Here we go. I always forget to there you go. In the comments, I do have T-shirts and stickers and stuff. So there you go. Check the comments. That is those are the T-shirts. In the future, I will probably have a different T-shirt vendor, but for right now, that's what I've got. But yeah, I do have a bologna burger T-shirt. Rookie of the Year, Xfinity Deegan. There could be. She's going to have a good chance if she's in good equipment, which we know she will be. No matter what she's driving, it will be a Stewart Haas backed entry. There's no doubt about that. Does Jack Wood have any relation to the Wood brothers? Not to my knowledge, but I have no idea. That's just a guess. I don't think he is. Molten Rage says no. Jack Wood is some random driver with Wood in his name. It's not affiliated with the Wood brothers. So there you go. Molten's done the research on that one. Owner, winner, team Penske. So there you go. Penske did win the owners with the 22 as well. Let me know if you don't mind running a Porsche, says Mark Langren. All right. Let's see. They haven't been in competitive rides or organizations. Chase Purdy at HRE and Jack Wood in GMS. Yeah, that's 2 championship organizations. They had their shot and they failed. Just pointing out that they were in championship organization rides this year. Group 44 is out of Danville, and they ran the British Leyland, including Jaguar. So there you go. Yeah, they ran it VIR. So I know what you're talking about now. I got you. Let's see. He absolutely did just hire Jack Wood and Chase Purdy because of their funding. There's no way he looked at their stats and said, I want you in my ride. No, it was for funding. We all know it was just, I was just saying. I'm really hoping now that we are a few days after the championship, people accept Logano as a champion and quit whining about it on the internet. Well, because Chase Elliott lost, they will never stop whining about it on the internet, Jonathan W. And that's where I'm at with it. So he is the champion. Everybody had the same set of rules going into it. He had the strategy to win in this playoff championship format. The same strategy he won with in 2017 or 18. So he just, I mean, that's what he does. He's looked at the format and he said, this is the format and this is how I'm going to race. So you can't say he's not a legitimate champion. You can only say he's not what I think of in the traditional sense of a champion. And that is not Joey Logano's fault. That is NASCAR's fault for having this system. So at the end of the day, Joey Logano is the champion. Joey Logano should be respected as the champion. And for all those people who are like, he's not the champion under the old point system. Well, if we had the old point system, Joey Logano would already be a 2-time champion. So either way you look at it, Joey Logano is a champion, and he's a 2-time champion. So there you go. Now, if you're a Chase Elliott fan, I understand your frustration. Like, right, your guy had the best season, should have been the champion. As far as a traditional champion, Chase Elliott would have been your traditional champion. I understand your frustration, but you need to take that frustration out on NASCAR and vent toward them at a horrible, horrible championship format system, because that's essentially what the problem is. VW money is spent in another way. Go to Porsche and sports cars. Yeah, for sure. VW is a massive. They're one of the top 3 or 4 auto manufacturers in the world as far as market share. They just pick whatever they want to win, whatever nameplate that they want to win that year, and that's how they do it. Look, they're in F1 coming here pretty soon, so I'd be I'd be jumping on board that if I was a driver. First year, Team Penske won IndyCar and NASCAR championship in the same year. Let's go. Oh, look at that. Penske fan. I didn't even know that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I keep up very vaguely with IndyCar. So that's really cool. Bob Tullis drove the number 44 Jaguar in IMSA in the 80s. Big time winners. That's pretty cool, man. Mark Wachowski dropping that. Moulton, I speak for all of us. Let the topic go, says Jonathan W. Yeah, so we get what you're saying on KBM, Moulton. We got you. Let's see. Joey dominated the race, period. Stop. Says Rusty Beechwood. Yeah, like he had the best strategy for this point system, so he is your champion. That's just all there is to it. Just like the year that Kevin Harvick won 9 races and should have been the traditional in everybody's mind champion, Chase Elliott did the same thing Joey Logano did this year. So it's both ends of the Chase Elliott spectrum here. Chase Elliott, if you wanted him to win this championship, you can't use the argument, because if you use that argument, you take away his championship, and Kevin Harvick should have been the champion the year he won his. So it's a double-edged sword. You have to pick which system you want and stick with it. So basically, do you want season-long points or do you want the playoffs? So it is what it is. One in SCCA when the manufacturers were a big name in SCCA. That was the first organization I registered under. That was the first racing license I had, was SCCA. Logano was honestly the best driver this year. Let's be honest, Chase was dominant in the regular season, but overall, if you look, overall, who had the better year, without a doubt, it was Chase Elliott. But Logano's not racing for year-long points. Logano's racing for a playoff championship. So you can't. That's what I'm saying. He's not racing for year-long points. Peace out. See you later, old home guy. Take him easy. People are hating on Joey because he's a Yankee. LM laughing my butt off, says Rusty Beechwood. That's part of it. That is definitely part of it. When you catch up on your rest, go listen to Danny B's live stream from yesterday. Both Mark Barnum and I think it was Mark and I got to be guests. Oh, that's really cool, man. I'm gonna check that out. Martin fan for life. I definitely will check it out, and I will talk to Danny B how he got the call-in deal working. Because I think that's really cool. He's got something cool going on there. Mark Langren, Porsche, please, says Mark. Stole the Harvick title. Oh, you want me to say Porsche? Okay, Porsche. Chase stole the title, stole Harvick's title in 2020. It all works itself out by the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, it's all a wash at the end of the day. People that are going to be champions are always normally going to be champions. And then there's a few outliers of guys that should be champions that never won one. Mark Martin's, of course, the first one that comes to mind. Mark Martin's a champion without ever having an actual Cup Series championship. He has other championships, obviously. They gave him the Ron Bouchard treatment, says Rusty Beechwood. Moulton is okay, a little frustrated with Cole Custer. Yeah, Cole Custer has not had the greatest season. It's all good. Tallies with Group 44 in SCCA, says Mark Langren. Free to Pay says, totally agree. Horrible point system. NASCAR pushed by the points. Joey did not win. He did not have the top 10s either, 5s either, or the most wins. Yep, but he played the system the right way, and that's what you do in the playoff system. So you don't worry about you sort of pick in the regular season the tracks that you kind of want to get a win at. And then you use the rest of the regular season to do R&D for 3 or 4 races in the playoffs. You can either pick a cutoff race or you can pick a middle race, but you sort of pick where you want to do your R&D for the playoff races. So really, as far as this goes, honestly, you could do a lot of simulation testing for one race in at the beginning of the year, and you get your stuff straight for that. You get that win. Then you spend the rest of the season doing R&D for like the 3 cutoff races or the 3 races right in the middle, which would be an easier race to win because people are not going to spend a ton of money doing R&D for those races. And then you do all your R&D for Phoenix. So you got Phoenix and the cutoff races, and then 1 race in the regular season. That's all the R&D money you got to spend for the whole season. So that's how you can win a championship now. And I think Penske is like the first one to realize that, and that's how Penske has been racing. You saw both of those Penske cars ran in the finale. So is insane. It's the same thing that Chad Knaus figured out with the old. He used the entire regular season as a testing tune for the playoff races, or the chase races, I should say. Let's see. Mark Barnum says he just had Zoom set up for call-ins. So there you go. Do you think JRM would buy the 7 and 77 then? That's the two cars that would turn to gold. Yeah, I think there is a chance that I've said that Aaron Flynn with that one. I've said that several times on here. I think if he goes Cup, I think he buys into Spire or buys them out. I think that's the move without a doubt. Molten said, like I said, I do think people sleep on Logano. Not even though, if you look at him, he's honestly been one of the best drivers in the decade that's been under talked about. I mean, does he get the press of other people? Probably not, but he's definitely. I mean, if you're watching the races, I don't think anybody's really sleeping on him. He's always in everybody's Final Four, or everybody that's knowledgeable. Like, if you're an analyst and you don't have a preseason with Joe Logano in your Final Four, or at least your Final Eight, you got some splaining to do. Let's see. Mark Bukowski says Joey Ross, Ty, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson. They don't race to race; they race to win. I agree with that. NASCAR will lose ticket sales because their most favorite NASCAR driver lost the race. Could be Elite Precision 29. What's going on, man? Check out Elite Precision's channel if you haven't checked it out yet. He's got a great channel, and if you like it, make sure you hit the subscribe button on his. He says, "What's up, man? Hope to see Lane Riggs full time in trucks next year. Stuart Friesen trying to make it happen, from what he said in the interview." Yeah, so hopefully that does happen. And Lane even said in his social media post, either on Twitter or Instagram, that he is hoping to go full time in 2023. So they are working on something over there. That is no rumor. They're definitely working on something over there for sure. And I think that's a good situation. Obviously, they need to sort of get the pit stops. They've had some bad pit stops with Lane driving, but I think if they can get a full season under them, they can get like a full-time pit crew for the other team. So that will definitely improve them, and I think that'll be a good situation for everybody over there at the Stuart Friesen. Good comment there, Elite Precision. As always, he's always on it. So go check out his channel, and if you like him, hit that subscribe button. Mark Langer says, you're saying pick a race to win, pick 3 races to win in the playoff, and Phoenix makes sense. Can do it on a smaller budget. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's 100% what you're going to see in the future. I mean, look at the year Eric Almirola shocked everybody and got into the playoffs. He won at New Hampshire or whatever. So what? And nobody puts a lot of funding into New Hampshire, right? So like, pick a racetrack that people typically don't put a lot of funding into. Make that essentially like your however much money you would spend at Daytona, spend doing R&D at that racetrack. That would give you a massive advantage. You'll probably have the best car there and the best chance of winning. So you win that race, and then you can focus all the rest of your time on whatever cutoff races. And then obviously everybody's going to focus all their money on Phoenix if they make the playoffs. So it is what it is. That is the new model to win. I will say this next year in trucks, I'm going to be honest, I think Carson Hocevar is going to take a massive step up. He may have made some stupid mistakes this year, but overall, I see he's definitely talented. He's just got to get his head calmed down when he's in the race car. He does some crazy stuff, and he will definitely have a good season. I think without a doubt, Carson Hocevar gets a win next year in trucks. Elite Precision, he says thanks for the shout out. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you doing what you do, man. No doubt. Let's see. Mark Langer said, sorry, bikini models shouldn't get primetime rides until they can prove they can race. We don't need another Danica. Does no good for real female drivers, says Mark Langren. Don't talk about Casey Kane like that, Mark Langren. Just because Casey Kane looks good without a shirt off, don't talk about him like that. I'm joking, but I see your point. But I think comparing Hailie Deegan and Danica Patrick, they're two totally different people. I think Hailie Deegan's a real race car driver. I think she's doing the social media stuff to fund her racing career. So it is what it is. It's a tough look. A lot of people don't like it, but I don't necessarily. I I think she's just trying to be a race car driver, and that's how she's making it happen. Mark Kwiatkowski, Daytona, she's an awesome track. It would be nice to see the 8 in victory lane. That would be cool. If he can win in his first race, or even if he could just win a qualifier, that would definitely be really cool. And RCR is always fast at Daytona. Mark Langren, this will mean even less reason to watch NASCAR. Yeah, like the playoff system's not great. As a host of our fan, I hope he wins next year. Cannot take how many times heartbreaks he's had. Yeah, for sure. No doubt about it, Moulton. In the broadcast booth, Rick Allen basically confirmed Gibbs will be racing in Cup next season. Yeah, I heard a lot of people say he slipped up. I don't feel like that's a big like slip up. We all know he's going to drive the 18 next year. They just haven't come out and confirmed it. TJ Moorshed says credit to Black Flags Matter. 7 times 7 equals 49. Jimmy Johnson's number in Cup next year. Have they confirmed that, TJ? That would be cool. But when Darian said that on the he first said it on the NASCAR Weekly podcast, and I was like, that is smart. That is pretty cool. So hopefully that is the number they run next season. Like I said, I've been on the road all day. I don't know what's going on other than I'm here and I'm live streaming with you guys right now. And we're about to call it here in just a few minutes. So if you want to get your last questions in, just go ahead and drop them in here. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and call it a night. Casey is a handsome man. Haley needs to earn it by getting better. Of course, I'm talking about Casey Kane took a lot of what was it, ESPN the magazine or something. He had a bunch of like shirtless covers or something like that. And everybody was always talking about how good looking he was, the women at least. I was just saying it goes both ways in that situation. I was having a joke about it. Jonathan W. I hope he gets the 48 and Hendrick back in the 25. And obviously, Casey Kane had a bunch of wins. I'm not taking anything away from him either. Rusty Beechwood says 49 is brilliant. Yeah, without a doubt. Darian Gillum was on it with that one, wasn't he? I hope he gets the 48. Black Flags Matter is his YouTube channel if you haven't checked it out. But he's got way. I'm sure you guys know who he is. He's got way more subscribers than me. I hope he gets the 48 and Hendrick gets the 25 back in motion. That would definitely be cool. The 25, it's just a Hendrick number. But a lot of people grew up with the 48 too. So I just don't know which one Rick Hendrick is attached to more, or maybe he's attached to all of them. Let's see. Carson Hocevar was so close, close to winning Kansas, but then he had to run run out of fuel on the last lap. Yeah, it was definitely. He's lost a bunch of close races this year. What was your assessment of Jesse Iwuji this year? One wise guy. He's getting better as a driver, but he's definitely much better as a team owner. And I hate to say that because Jesse Iwuji is another really super nice guy. But his driving career hasn't been there yet. But he could be a Richard Childress type guy, where his owning career, he's picked some really good drivers to put in his race cars, and those guys have performed. So I hate to see anybody ever give up on their dream. I hate to see him. I would never want to see him quit driving. As long as he wants to drive, I want him to drive. But his natural abilities and talents seem to be more geared toward owning the car. He's done really well, and you can't take that away. There's tons of guys who can't pick talent out of a bag. Like they just can't. But Jesse Iwuji is one of those guys. He'll put talent in the car. He can find it and he'll put it in the car. So I think his future as a team owner is very bright. His future as a driver definitely needs improvement. Ice in 2024 and 2025, says Mark Langren. We want to ice race, no doubt about it. Elite Precision 29 says, I won't lie, I was so disappointed with how the season ended Sunday. Logano is literally the only driver I don't like in the Cup field, and he wins the title. LOL. Second half of the season was rough for NASCAR. Yeah, the season started off so good. Season started off as an A, ended up with a C because of the safety and stuff like that. And a lot of people, I don't have anything against Joey Logano. He doesn't bother me, but I understand that I can hear the fans boo when he gets introduced, right? I'm not deaf. So I understand a lot of people don't like him. But yeah, I don't know. He was just, he had, to me, the best strategy. He's one of the best drivers. So, but I understand a lot of fans are disappointed, especially Chase Elliott fans. That's a tough way to lose. Tough way to lose a title. You get in a wreck, and that was it. That was a wrap. Can you handle below zero? Says Mark Langren. I don't know, but we'll find out. I couldn't when I was going to Appalachian State, but I've got an extra layer now, so we might be all right. Whole lot of Columbia sportswear takes care of all that. JJ will be 92. Says Mark Barnum. That'd be a cool number too. Let's see. Camaro 50. See you later, buddy. Thanks for hanging out. One wise guy. Good to see you too, as always. Have you been paying attention to Akinora Ogata, great short track racer, and made a few starts in Xfinity this year? Yeah, he's one of my favorite guys. Let's see. Yeah, he's got a. In case you're don't know who he is, he drove that truck at least once. But yeah, he's definitely one of the best stories in all of racing. He grew up in Japan, and he wanted to be a short track racer. He wanted to race in NASCAR, and there's literally no path for that over there. So he's over here racing at Hickory Motor Speedway. He's got a bunch of wins in limited late model, which is one step away from late model. He is a really good race car driver, and he has made some Xfinity Series starts. He's made some truck starts. He's a really, really good race car driver. So, yeah, no doubt about it. He's also got a documentary. I don't know where you can find it, but I just recently they did a showing in Cary. So I don't know if it was like a local person who did that, but he's got a documentary. So hopefully that documentary will be out pretty soon. But he's a great story. Look him up and read any article on him. So yeah, no doubt about it. Good call there, Jonathan. Any activity at the DEI facility? They still, Aaron Flynn said, last time I went there, they still sell a little bit of like merchandise and stuff, and you can see a few cars like through one window, but not much. They do like an Earnhardt Fan Appreciation Day once a year, but that's it. Rusty Beechwood, great show and season. Enjoyed it. Look forward to more next season. Says Rusty. I'm gonna keep it going. All off season. So check me out when you get bored in the off season. I think the problem with Carson and why he does all the mistakes he doesn't have fast trucks. They're not as fast as other people's equipment. So yeah, I agree with you on that one, Moulton. You can tell he pushes the limit on his equipment. His extreme Nice Motorsports need to find speed. Yeah. Same thing with Ross Chastain when he drove for him. So it is what it is. Any publicity, Mark Langren with the thumbs up. I appreciate it, buddy. Any publicity is good publicity. NASCAR came out on top this year. NASCAR is probably talked about more this year than it was last year. So I would agree with you. Mark Langren says Delta ? I don't know. Remy Brothers 33. That's the team right there that you have. Yeah, but he drove. I forget who's Xfinity. He drove Xfinity this year. I can't remember who he drove for in Xfinity this year. He's been fast in the 14 car this year. Says Jonathan W. Oh yeah. Oh man. He did well at Hickory. He almost won the championship in limited late model, if I'm not mistaken. I think he came up one points position short. I think he finished second. Charlie Tuna, great stuff. Landon Huffman, by the way, won the track title at Hickory, and I think he did win the North Carolina State Championship, if I'm not mistaken. So Landon Huffman, another good YouTube channel if you like watching late model stuff, stock car stuff. Another guy out of Hickory, really good channel. Boo Carlisle is another good one. Kicking Asphalt with Boo Carlisle. He's a friend of this channel. He's got a really, really good show, so check him out for sure. If you like short track racing, both of those are really good. We'll look for you in the off season, no doubt, says Rusty. Appreciate it. Teresa got what she deserves, says Mark Langren. I think the vast majority of people agree on that one. People should remember nobody was ever nice to Logano. So yeah, Joey Logano got roughed up early in his career because he was a young guy, and that was the way you initiated young guys in that era. He sort of got in there on the last cusp of that era. And so it sort of shaped the way he drives now, to put it bluntly. MBM, thank you. Carl Long. He drove for Carl Long in the 13 this year, Molten Rage, and a really good looking car, the Moon Eyes car, number 13 Moon Eyes car. Beautiful, beautiful paint scheme on that. Mark Langer inside Delta Airlines near. Yes, we do have Delta out here, Mark, for sure. Sliced bread took crap from all of them at one time, says Rhino's Race Room 66. Yeah, no doubt about it. Bob Puckett says, bro, I'm glad you're back home safe, and I'm glad you made the trip for all your loyal fans. I know the truth about what went on. Thank you. No problem, Bob. I try to, hopefully I can get out and make a few more next year, but I definitely wanted to get out there. And I've got plenty of Phoenix content that I will get to now that I'm back. Let me get a few things straightened out because I've been away from here for basically a week. But we'll get it going. I'll hopefully have a video up tomorrow talking about some Phoenix stuff. And then, of course, the Phoenix vlog at some point. See, Mark Bukowski says some people may not like Joey, but one guy who does like him is Roger Penske, and that's all that matters. That's a fact. That's well put, Mark Bukowski. Let's see. Rhino's Race Room, well said. Also talking about Mark. Speaking of a team, they started great in Xfinity with the 66. Heck was contended for a playoff spot early, and then they just fell off a cliff when summer came and never recovered. Yeah, that's a fair point. They did start off way better than they've ever started, and probably ran out of funding or something like that. That is definitely a shoestring budget organization. I might, I don't know. I might talk to some people and see if I can go over there and talk to them at some point. Carl Long's a legend over here where I live. Everybody loves that guy. So we'll see if we can make something happen about that maybe in the future at some point. Mark Langren says Roger made a mistake. What do you want? Do you want him to keep Brad? Did you want him to keep Brad over there, Mark? So I don't know. But we'll see. That is the last question. So with that, I'm going to call it a night. And thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out. Good seeing you guys again. And yeah, just stay tuned to the channel. We'll keep it going. All right. Thanks for your time. Peace.